I was retired, but I refused to admit it. And not to other people, and certainly not to myself. I just kept telling myself that, well, something will come along. I'm just between gigs right now. But the truth was that there was no next for me, at least not the kind of next that I was accustomed to. I'm Mel, and this is my retirement story. The company that I had built and built my life around suddenly disappeared just like that. And I spent the next quite a few years trying to build something just like it without much success. And I kind of just stayed in this state of limbo, not working the way I used to, but still totally unwilling to admit that I was retired. Even though deep down, I kind of knew. Now, part of that time, I was taking care of loved ones, parents, and other family members who were going through some tough times. And that did give me something to hold on to. But it also allowed me to ignore what was really going on inside of me. But when all that dust started to settle, I was faced with the fact that I was retired. I just had no idea what to do with that. So I did what I think a lot of people do to fill that time. I've golfed. I traveled some. I even thought of going to work part-time. On the surface, the things probably looked pretty good to other people, but underneath, something just wasn't right. And I felt it. It wasn't a dramatic thing. I wasn't unhappy all the time by any means. It was a lot quieter than that. It was more like I just didn't know who I was anymore. For most of my life, I kind of was what I did. Even when jobs changed, I knew who I was and where I fit in. And now, all that was gone. And, in, and instead of facing that, I did everything I could to ignore it. I tried to stay busy so I didn't have to deal with that. Well, I guess I just told myself that something will just come along eventually. Have you faced anything like that? But even though I felt like something would come along, it wasn't as if I was doing anything about it. I just thought it would maybe happen. And I wasn't ready to start over like I so often was in my younger years. But I just wasn't ready to let go either. And as I mentioned, life did give me something that gave me purpose and really mattered. I was helping the people that I loved go through some very tough times, death, illnesses, and other losses. And as I said, that stuff mattered. It did give me purpose. But even those things didn't answer the bigger question. Because when those moments passed and things got quiet again, I was right back where I started, retired, but not living like it, free, but not having a clue what to do with that freedom, still not willing to admit what had actually happened, where I was in my life. Now, somewhere along the way, I started to realize something. This, it wasn't just a phase. And it certainly wasn't the next step in my business life. No, this was my life now. I had just been doing everything I could to avoid recognizing that. Not certainly because I didn't have options, I just didn't know how to deal with those options. I didn't know how to see myself inside those different environments. Then my wife said something, well, that she'd probably said a dozen or more times before already. This time, though, maybe she said it differently, or perhaps I was just ready. But she said, Mel, why don't you just finally admit you're retired? And that's when things did finally start to change. Because for whatever reason, that thought finally landed. And I just couldn't push it away anymore. I guess I kind of ran out of excuses. I had no more explanations and nothing else to point to. It just finally rang true. And once I finally said it to myself and finally admitted that I was retired, I began to realize that the issue wasn't retirement. The issue was how I was looking at it. I was treating it like something I had fallen into or something that was forced upon me. Something that maybe other people would do, certainly not me. I never saw it as something that I could actually embrace. Because the truth is, nobody actually teaches you how to retire, how to handle this phase of your life. You spend your whole life working, building things, producing, showing up, and then one day it's all gone. And you're left with something that everybody seems to want, but nobody knows how to actually do it. So for me, this became less about what should I do next, and much more about how do I want to live my life now? What would it be that would allow me to be happy? And not a someday thing anymore. Not when I finally figure things out. It's right now. My YouTube is my current right now happy place. Later on, it might be something else entirely. And that's okay. Because I'm still figuring things out. I think we all are. But at least I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not hiding from it anymore or waiting for something else to come along. I'm retired. And I'm learning just how to live with that in a way that feels like it's actually mine. And that's good. It just took me a lot longer than it should have. I'm Mel. Why don't you share your story in the comments? I'd like to know how you see it. How do you handle your retirement? Or how do you see your coming retirement? Talk to me. And subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and take a look at another. And I'll see you next time.